Help me reach 3,000 subscribers. Hit like and leave a comment. I really do read them all. She leaned on the island, flipping my truck keys in her hand like a coin. Girls' night at Casey's. Jenna tossed out. Just the five of us. We'll crash there. You'll survive without me for one night, hero? I can handle a night, I told her. Text when you get there. Text in the morning. Basic courtesy. She gave me the kind of smile people use when they're already planning to ignore you. You and your briefings, she said, kissed the air instead of my cheek, and walked out. She didn't come back the next morning, or the morning after. My calls went to voicemail. By day 3, I drove to Casey's apartment. Lights on, cars out front, no answer to the bell. A neighbor across the hall cracked his door and clicked it shut when he saw me. I left. When Jenna finally walked in late that night, she smelled like a hotel lobby and shrugged past me to the fridge. Where were you? I asked. Don't be dramatic, she said, twisting a cap off seltzer. We were talking. I lost track. My phone died. All 3 days. That's not how batteries work. You want a police report? We were safe. She took a sip and grinned. You miss me or just the noise I make? If I'd known where it was headed, I'd have packed a box that night and saved myself a week. I let the first exchange be simple. You told me one night, I said. You disappeared for 3. No check-ins. That's a line. She set the bottle down. I'm not a child. Then stop testing the fences. Relax, Mark. You're wound tight. Keep the calendar clear this weekend, I replied. We're resetting a few things. She laughed and slid her phone into her pocket like she was holstering a victory. Sure, Sergeant. Put it on my busy schedule. I didn't argue. I moved the weekend to my plan. Saturday afternoon, our cul-de-sac did its usual thing. Folding tables, coolers, smoke from a cheap grill drifting into the trees. Rick from 2 doors down, retired fireman, waved a spatula at me. Solo today? Apparently, I said. Jenna showed late. Sunglasses, sundress, a joke already cocked. She made a circle, hugging the wives, getting loud. When she got to me, she poked a finger into my chest. You gonna frisk me for contraband friendship? Not my sport, I said and kept turning the skewers. She wanted an audience. She had one. Rick leaned over. You good? I'm fine, I told him. Just adjusting rules. Rules, Jenna repeated, catching it. Like curfews and permissions? Should I sign out with the warden? I faced her. It's simple. You don't vanish for days. If you're staying somewhere, you answer your phone. Money-wise, I'm splitting accounts. Your fund doesn't run on my auto pay. She tilted her head. Seriously? Starting Monday, I added. Separate debit, separate credit. Groceries and the mortgage are covered. The rest is a conversation, not a faucet. She laughed for the group. You're hilarious. I don't even have income right now. Then your schedule can make room for finding some, I said. I'm done sponsoring mystery tours. Casey had joined the cluster, plastic cup in her hand. He's being controlling. She told nobody and everybody. I'm being clear, I replied. You two had me driving to an apartment where no one answered for days. That's not partnership. That's theater. Jenna tugged a lock of hair behind her ear. Relax. We had a good time. You don't own my hours. Rick's wife, Angie, shifted and said to Jenna in a voice that was friendly if you didn't listen too hard. It's normal to check in. Jenna answered Angie with a smile that wasn't. We'll survive, thanks. I set the tongs down. New rule. I said to Jenna, not raising my voice. No unplanned overnights. You want to be gone, you tell me. You don't. I plan without you. Seats get filled. She tapped the cooler lid closed with her heel. Fine. Then I need the card for Sunday brunch. No, I said. Excuse me. I just told you how it works now. The silence that followed wasn't quiet. Kids yelling, ice clinking, but it felt quiet anyway. Jenna's mouth tightened. So, I need your permission to eat eggs with my friends? You need to show basic respect, I answered, which includes staying reachable and not sending me the bill for things I didn't agree to. You want brunch, enjoy brunch. I'm not paying for another disappearing act. She studied my face like there might be a trapdoor I'd forgotten to seal. We'll talk at home, she said, and walked off with Casey. The wives exchanged those quick glances women trade when they're recalculating. Rick handed me a plate. You sure about that move? Yes, I said. And I'm ordering new locks for the side door this week. The contractor left them loose. Smart, he said. Always fix hinges before storms. Sunday morning, she tried soft power. She came down early with coffee in my travel mug, buttered toast, a smile that had training wheels on it. "We got loud the other night," she said, setting the mug right by my hand. I pushed. "You pushed back. I can admit that." "You can?" I agreed, taking the mug. It was my roast. She'd learned my ratio and used it like a coupon. "I'll text more," Jenna went on. "But you splitting accounts? That's extreme. It makes me feel separated." "We needed separation," I answered. "Clarity beats hope." "So you don't trust me?" "I trust clear behavior," I said. "Let's start there." She slid onto the stool. "How about a reset Wednesday? Dinner?" "No agenda. I've got a late install," I told her. "Thursday instead. But the rules don't pause for dinner." She let the smile wobble, just enough. "You're being hard." "I'm being a grown man," I said. "There's a difference." At noon, she texted from the hallway. "Could you transfer 200? The girls want to do that yoga and brunch thing." The sink was draining slow, so I was under it with a wrench. I wiped my hands and replied, "Not funding it. If you want it, use your account." She came to the doorway. "So you get to go fishing, hang with Rick, eat steaks, and I can't have a morning with friends?" "I pay for my hobbies," I replied, turning the wrench. "You want to hike? I'll go with you today. Or you can go with them tomorrow with your card. Your choice." "This is ridiculous," she said, then added, "I'll be at Casey's." "I'll text." She didn't. 2 days later, when I got home from a job site, my spare key was missing from the hook by the back door. The drawer where we kept random household gift cards was light. Jenna was in the living room with her feet on the ottoman, scrolling. "Where's the spare?" I asked. She looked at me like I'd asked where the moon went. "Which spare?" "The one for the truck. Casey borrowed it. We needed to move your truck to load boxes for the donation place." "You moved my truck?" I stayed steady. "It was in the way," she said. "We were efficient." "You're welcome." "You don't take keys without asking," I told her. "Put it back." She threw her head against the cushion. "You are exhausting." "Keys back by tonight," I said. "And while we're on it, don't touch my business cards. A client told me someone took a stack." "Relax," she said, and turned the volume up on a reality show. Thursday was the date night she'd suggested. At 4 she texted, "Rain check. The girls want to go hear live music. I'll probably crash at Casey's. Don't wait up." At 5 I texted back, "Noted. We're done scheduling anything that depends on you." At 7 I moved my gym bag into the guest room and changed my alarm to 15 minutes earlier. I updated the shared calendar, separate schedules, separate budgets. Please respect. At 10 I drove to Casey's again, not to knock, but to check if my truck was parked on the street like a prop. It wasn't. An upstairs window had laughter leaking through it. I let the moment go. My initiative wasn't banging on a door for show. It was making this house run without chaos and letting the silence cut for once on her side. The next morning, illusion number 2 showed up wearing perfume. She slid into the kitchen while I was counting hardware screws for a supply run. Arms around my waist. A voice by my ear. "I've been thinking," she said. "You're right about some things." I didn't twist away. "Which things?" "The check-ins. The spending. I get carried away because you're so reliable." She pulled back to see my face. "It's easy to think everything's taken care of. And, and I want to be better," she said, punctuating it with a kiss that tasted like new leaf. "Let's take a weekend away. My treat, if you keep the accounts together." "There it is," I answered. "What?" The price tag under the apology. Her eyes cooled. "You're impossible." "I'm consistent," I told her. "We keep the accounts separate. If you want a weekend, great. You book your half. I'll book mine." She stepped back like I'd just offered to split a sandwich with a chainsaw. "You're choosing money over us." "I'm choosing clarity over confusion," I said. "If that offends you, you're in the wrong house." She left the room. A door closed upstairs. The house went to its regular sounds: refrigerator hum, neighbor's mower, the kind of quiet you can plan inside. Monday morning, I found the credit card missing from the metal tray where we dropped our wallets. I checked my banking app. 3 airline tickets. 2 hotel charges pending. A ride service ping at 4:52 a.m. I called Jenna. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Rejected. A third time. Rejected. Fourth. Rejected. On the 5th, the screen flashed blocked. I stared at the truck keys on the counter, the tray that should have had a card in it, the wall calendar with a blank square where today lived. I didn't chase. I called Casey. She picked up on the second ring. Hey, Mark. Casey, I said. Jenna blocked me. We're boarding, she answered. It's loud. She'll call you later. Tell her I'm filing for divorce, I said. And tell her to enjoy the trip she paid for with my card. Casey went silent. Then, whoa. That's wow. 30 seconds of honesty saves a lot of time. I told her and hung up. 15 minutes later, my phone lit up like a slot machine. Unknown number. Then another. Then another. 15 missed calls in 30 minutes. I didn't pick up. I was busy. The boxes in the garage had been waiting for years. Seasonal clothes, old candles, a bin of scarves, a box labeled Jenna, college. I pulled them into the light, opened the bedroom closet, folded what was hers into stacks, and kept it kind. No ripping. No theatrics. I left the photos in an envelope and slid it on top. I stripped the dresser to empty. I packed the bathroom drawer, makeup, cotton pads, a battered hairdryer. I taped lids and wrote with a marker. Then I loaded the truck. Diane, her mother, opened the door before I knocked. We'd always been civil. She looked at the pile in my arms and swallowed. What happened? She left for a trip, I replied. She blocked me. I'm done. Mark, Diane said softly. She's impulsive. She'll calm down. I'm calm, I said. Can I put these in the spare room? She stepped back. Put them down. I'll handle it. I've changed the locks, I added. She can arrange a time to get the rest of her things through you. She'll lose it, Diane warned. It's not my job to manage her reactions, I answered. It's my job to manage my home. On my way to the hardware store, I booked a locksmith anyway. He came by 4. By 5, the side door had a new deadbolt and the front a new cylinder. At 6, I put her sets of keys in a Ziploc and dropped them in the envelope with the photos at Diane's. At 7, I made eggs and ate them at the counter. At 8, more calls came in from rotating numbers. I put the phone on Do Not Disturb and set it face down. Luis, my lead tech, came by the next morning for parts. Boss, you look like a guy who finally slept. I did, I said. You going to be okay if she shows up at the shop? If she does, you send her to me and then you go back to work, I told him. No circus. You got it. By noon, texts started. First, wow, dramatic. Then, unblock me. Then, you're overreacting. Then, I'm sorry, okay? We needed a break. Then a picture from an airport bar, just a drink on a napkin, the edge of a boarding pass. I didn't reply. That evening, my neighbor Angie dropped by with a Tupperware of baked ziti. We heard raised voices on your voicemail last night, she said. You good? I'm good, I told her. She was telling someone you're obsessed, Angie added. Just heads up. People who cross a line always call the fence obsessive, I said. Thanks for the ziti. Day 3, Jenna switched tactics. I miss you, the text said. I'm sorry I panicked. It felt like you were taking everything from me. Another text. I can look for a job if that's what it takes. Another. Can we please just talk tonight? I'm at the hotel alone. Casey's being a brat. I read them. I didn't answer. I went to the gym and came back with a clear head and a tired back and slept like my bed remembered me. On day 5, she tried a grand gesture from a distance. A delivery driver showed up with a basket, cookies, balloons, a card shaped like a heart. I refused it on the porch. Return to sender, I told the kid. He looked relieved. Rick wandered over from his driveway, arms folded. You're going to burn bridges if you ignore everything. Bridges to what? I asked him. An island that sinks when you step on it. He nodded once. Fair. On day 7, a rideshare car rolled up to my curb. I already knew the sound of the app notification from her texts. She got out with a tote bag and sunglasses and a face that said this would be easy to flip back. She kept the driver waiting with the engine idling like the quick exit was part of the plan. She pounded the doorbell. Then the door. Then the doorbell again. Mark, open up. I opened. That was my mistake. Not because I feared words. Because I'd already made my decision, and doors make people think there's room for negotiation. She brushed past me into the entry like the old key still fit the new lock. You lost your mind, she announced, dropping the tote on the floor. You had my stuff delivered to my mother like I'm a stranger. You blocked me and left the state on my card. I answered. I paid you back. She held up her phone, triumphant. Look, I transferred half. You took 3 tickets, I said. Half is not how that math works. You're petty, she shot back. Who even talks about math in a marriage? Grown people who pay bills, I replied. She planted her hands on her hips. Say you overreacted. Say you let anger run you. We can fix this in 5 minutes. You can't fix a lack of respect in 5 minutes, I said. It took longer to break it. So you wanted me to text every hour? To ask your permission to breathe? She snorted. You're threatened by the fact that I have friends. You can have all the friends you want, I told her. You don't get to disappear. She moved closer, jabbing a finger at my chest. You love control. You love rules because you can't keep a woman happy, so you keep her scheduled. Luis would have told me to walk away. Rick would have told me not to open the door in the first place. I stood still and let her run the tape. You're jealous, she went on. You're insecure. You need to grow up. Everyone said so. Even Angie. Angie brought me ziti. I said. She didn't bring you respect. We had one fun weekend. She threw her hands. You freaked out and packed my life like I was a tenant. You changed locks. You told my mother on me like I'm 15. You're 35, I answered. Act like it. You're 38 and boring. You're 35 and blocked. I replied, calm enough that I could hear my next breath. You turned off the only line that matters in a marriage, communication. That's your call. This is mine. She folded her arms. You won't actually file. You like to act hard, but you're soft. I already filed, I said, and opened the envelope on the entry table. These are copies. She stared like the papers were a magic trick I should apologize for pulling. You're not serious. I handed them to her. I'm finished, I said. This house will be quiet. You can make arrangements through your mother for anything left. You have no access here. You don't get to decide that, she snapped. I did, I said. And Jenna, one more thing. What? She spat. You didn't lose me, I told her. You lost access to me. That's not the same thing. Her face changed. Not a soft change. A calculation. So this is it. You're throwing away years because I took a trip. You threw them away when you erased my side of the partnership, I said. Go call your driver. She tucked the papers under her arm and tried another tactic. Too sweet, too late. We can go to counseling. I'll get a job. I held up a hand. No. You had my attention. You used it to play games. The doors closed. I stepped aside and opened it wider. Out. She stood there another beat, as if time would help her find the old key. When it didn't, she stepped over the threshold and turned back. Everyone's going to hear what you did, she said. Make it interesting, I replied, and shut the door. The bell rang. The pounding started up. I dialed Diane. She's at your door? Diane asked. Yes. I'll come get her. Thank you. The banging continued until it didn't. Then tires. Then the sound of my house being a house again. I washed a glass and set it in the drying rack and let the quiet be proof. The next few months were paperwork and schedule management and more quiet than I'd had in years. We communicated through email and Diane. The settlement landed where it should. I kept my house, the truck, the tools, the business accounts, my dog-eared books, my weekends. She left with her clothes, her keepsakes, and a slice of savings I wrote a check for without blinking. I didn't chase fairness like an award. I protected what I built. Rick saw me on a Sunday loading gear and nodded at the empty spot where her car used to claim shade. You look lighter, he said. I am, I said. Anyone new? He grinned, like a neighbor who wanted a good ending. Not a replacement, I told him. I'm not shopping for holes to fill. He laughed. That's a sentence. Things stabilize when one person stops supplying chaos. My mornings got precise again. Coffee at 6, calls at 7, first service window at 8, paperwork at 4, gym at 6. On Fridays, I hit the bar down the street with Luis and 2 other guys from the trade. We kept it simple. Wings, a game on silent, talk about tools and what breaks them. On Saturdays, I fixed a leaky faucet for Angie and replaced a light fixture for Rick. Work is honest that way. You twist, you check, the water runs where it's supposed to. There's a lot to like in that. There was a woman, eventually. Tessa. She runs a small landscaping crew and doesn't need anyone's card to buy dirt. We met because she parked her trailer crooked at the convenience store, and I offered to spot her backing up. She laughed. We traded numbers like adults. And when we had dinner, she told me she prefers early mornings to late nights. I told her that's exactly my speed. We keep it clean, no promises we don't cash. She texts if she's running late. I do the same. There's respect in both directions and not a single performance. Jenna reached out more than once, on a delay. I'm sorry, she wrote the first time, months after the papers were signed. I didn't realize what I was doing. I didn't respond. The next time, I'm lonely. Can we meet for coffee? I didn't respond. Then, I heard about Tessa. I'm happy for you. That one made me stop for a second, but I still didn't answer. The last one was a voicemail that came on a Sunday night when she probably walked into a quiet apartment and leaned against a door that didn't open the way she wanted anymore. I miss you, she said. I miss how safe our life was. Then a pause. Please call me. I didn't. Not out of bitterness. Out of respect for what I'd learned. Doors close for a reason. Sometimes Angie asks if I ever think about what I could have done differently. I did exactly what I should have, just later than I should have done it, I tell her. And if she shows up again? She can knock on a different door. I still keep the spare key on the hook by the back door. It's labeled now, bright red tape on the ring. Truck. Another hook sits next to it, empty, also labeled. Respect. It's not sentimental. It's a joke I share with myself. The kind you earn. When I look back, I don't see a villain and a hero. I see a man who took himself seriously at last. I set rules that fit a grown life, and I enforced them without shouting. I didn't chase. I didn't campaign. I ended a game and started living. If you want neat words for it, here they are. She bet that comfort would keep me quiet. She lost. I walked my temper down the block and came back with a locksmith. I gave her a clean exit and kept my dignity. I live better now, friends. Work on schedule, weekends that don't include waiting for a ghost to text. There's a truck in my driveway that always starts, a woman who respects a calendar, a neighbor who borrows tools and returns them. Jenna? She's around in the way people are when they don't like the mirror. Single, scrolling, telling a friend a story where I'm unreasonable because the truth doesn't get her what she wants. Every few months, she tries another number, another apology, another tone. I don't hate her. I don't wish her anything. I just keep the door closed. The last time she called, the ringtone buzzed while Tessa and I were loading soil bags. I glanced at the screen, set the phone back on the tailgate, and lifted the next bag. Tessa didn't ask who it was. She just handed me another and said, "We'll need one more." "Yeah," I said and smiled. "One more that we actually planned."